it's perfect that you're using food and agriculture metaphors because the first case study that we wrote around this was focused on food waste. And that was a study of what the Fink family, through their family office Mission Point Partners and their foundation, the Betsy and Jesse Fink Family Foundation, did to build the field of food waste innovation, and create ReFed as a backbone organization for that space, and then drive, working toward driving more systemic change on food waste. So this wasn't something where we were planting the seeds. We can take no credit for what's actually done, but this was a story that we heard come up in a few conversations as we were asking around about it. And so we decided to take a closer look. And Albin Yao, who was a graduate student here, just finished up his thesis. He did a kind of deep dive case study on that example, and we've published it on SSRN, and it's a very nice example because, first of all, it does involve them combining investments across asset classes. But even beyond financial assets, I think what the case showcases is that is this idea of nesting, which is that, or also called the notion of polycapital, which is that you're not just deploying financial capital, but you're using the social capital, the relationships that you have. You're investing in people and building their capabilities and bringing them into the space, the human capital. You're building those relationships based on a foundation of trust and people's understanding of where you're really coming from. And Jesse Fink uses the term spiritual capital to describe that. And what emerges out of that is that, they deployed on the order of magnitude $5 million of investments, some in early stage companies like Spoiler Alert, some in food rescue nonprofits, and some in this backbone organization called ReFed. And they catalyzed a lot more people to attend to that space, right? They supported the development of a report out of NRDC that made a lot of people aware of the food waste challenge. We waste about 40% of the food that we grow. And they really, the interesting part of the origin story is that they had a family farm. They set up a family farm. And they were just running into food waste directly as an experience. Like, there's this stuff that was ending up not making it to market. It's on the field. And so they would rent the farm out for weddings, and the caterers would put up a tent. And so the Finks would say, leave the tent there, we're going to use it. And they would literally, under the big tent, convene farmers, activists, scientists, people in the food corporate arena around food, policymakers, government officials, to just wrestle with the food waste challenge together. And out of that emerged this conversation, and then the creation of ReFed as a backbone organization to kind of carry that forward and to create the data backbone, the community building backbone. And now there's about $2 billion a year flowing into in the US, flowing into food waste innovation. And so I think that, and then if you trace that through of like, well, what's it achieving? A number of these organizations can show you their impact measured in tons of food waste avoided, and therefore tons of greenhouse gases and water and soil erosion, everything else you didn't have to do. So we thought that was a cool example, a nice concrete one that had a number of the features that people have been talking about in sort of manifestos about systemic investing, like this idea of polycapital or nesting, and this idea of identifying leverage points and bringing together ensembles of investors. And this was something where it was really happening. And so that was a useful kind of concrete example for folks. And then we helped to get off the ground and to contribute to a community of practice called Twist, which is a group of investors who are working to invest for systems change. And we got to sort of join into that community as the researchers in residence, in a sense. So that allowed us to look at 26 more case studies of investing for systems change. And Albin's thesis is this kind of comparative analysis of those efforts and a refinement of our thinking about investing for systems change based on what we saw there. And those folks are working on everything from access to reproductive health to regenerative agriculture on a regional basis to innovations in the financial system. And so we were able to build a kind of typology and taxonomy of efforts in these directions.